TriLLG.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy TriLLG. I'm gonna attempt to quickly, I don't know how quickly I can do it. I might have to do a part two, but I'm gonna attempt to pull together the perspective that should be held when it comes to the Bible. Now, in order for me to do this, and I think I could do it unbiasedly. People knowing that I was raised in church, but I don't currently consider myself a Christian, but I do believe in God. And I do have a belief that would coincide with biblical law, in a sense. So, let's look at this, what the Bible is. Let's stick with the most popular version, the King James Version. That is a version that was created. Okay, this is the thing about the King James Version. The Old Testament, in terms of its truest form in current day, should come from the Septuagint, because in antiquities, the Septuagint is the oldest translation that is said to have come from the original Hebrew text. We don't have the original Hebrew version. The current Hebrew Bible comes from the Septuagint, so it's like the Hebrew translated to Greek. That's what the Septuagint is. It's 70 translators sat in a room and translated the Hebrew text into Greek, but they don't got the original Hebrew. And then the Hebrew Bible is the Greek translated back into Hebrew. But at the same time, there's another version of the Old Testament, which is called like the Masoretic text. And there's some contention on why we should or shouldn't use that version, the Masoretic text, because in a sense there was conflict amongst the Jewish people when they were trying to create a revolution. Bar Kokhba, check that out. Check out what Bar Kokhba is. When they're trying to create a revolution, and a large segment of their own people, Christians who were Jews or whichever way you want to break them up, weren't joining the revolution because in their minds they were already free because of Jesus. But they technically weren't free, so the revolution was necessary. So it's about perspectives. But let's look at this. The entire Old Testament, or the entire biblical scriptures, is based on a set of people, a culture that is based on Jewish people, Hebrews, Israelites. Now, if you do your study, your research, you'll realize the landmass that they were based, or that these stories were based in, is Africa. And that means they were Africans. And when I say Africa, I mean the continent, yes, but I also do mean the planet, because in real ancient times, thousands upon thousands of years ago, all the continents were closer together, and people of the landmass in Africa traveled the planet, whether it be via boats or walking over land bridges, whatever the case may be. There's proof to show that black African Negroes were all over the planet. Okay, so, but when you look now in modern day times of your understanding of Jewish people, if you look in Israel right now, you're not seeing African people, you're seeing Europeans. So, again, you kind of find this, like rock and roll started by a black person, then run by white people, kind of transitioning thing. Hey, I ain't going to get into that today, but just keep that in the back of your mind when we're having this conversation in terms about the Holy Bible, and trying to figure out if we can trust a translation where we don't have the original version, or should we run with the newer version in Hebrew by the Jews because they had beef with the Septuagint version that didn't allow the Christians to let go of Jesus as a Messiah so that they could follow their new Messiah, in a sense, to revolt against the Romans, which in a sense that's what Jesus himself was doing. More than just the Romans, just the whole elite system. So it's been a consistent problem you find even now in our modern day church, where we aren't really teaching what it means to revolt or to create a revolution to go against the system. Most pastors live off the system. They use the government tax benefits for churches to keep their taxes down or to reimburse them, all kinds of ways and loopholes. So even in our current day, we still find that back and forth. But when we look at the Masoretic text, and we look at then the New Testament, it is not there that Jesus is quoting from, or really any of the apostles are quoting from. They're quoting from the Septuagint. But this is the main point. The main point is that if the original Jews are of African people, speaking what you would call Hebrew. And let's also get this out the way. Hebrews are, or the Hebrew tongue would be like American slang. Aramaic, another tongue that the Hebrews would speak, would be like Jamaican patois. And then Greek is like straightforward Queen's English. So you can understand how this culture could all be rounded into one, because it's technically the same Semitic languages being shared amongst each other. And I'm not saying Greek and Aramaic are the same. Don't get me confused. I'm just saying that culturally they were clearly interacting, and there were many people able to write in all these languages. So the nuances must have been pretty similar for them to catch on. This is where we get confused. If the original culture that we are, in our futuristic point of view in terms of trying to participate with this biblical culture, came from Africans, and there's Africans still right now in Ethiopia, all over Africa, practicing their cultures of antiquity via oral tradition, and we also understand that the Jewish people passed on their traditions orally, then we have to question why are we following the perspective of the Greek translation, and we have to then look at Greek being, the European, and also understand that the current Jews right now are European. Why are we following that narrative? It's a question to ask. I'm not saying the answer is we shouldn't be following it. I'm just saying there's some real answers. I think if you know what your purpose is in terms of our modern day system, if it is not to revolt, then your answer might be pretty simple, why you follow the scriptures. But if you are actually trying to revolt, trying to free yourself of sin, your social insurance number, nah, let's leave that alone, but you're trying to free yourself from bondage, then there should be a deeper understanding of the culture you are trying to be a part of. Because African spiritual systems are based on nature. That means right now you can go outside, look at nature, and allow nature to speak to you on what you should be doing to live spiritually. Breathe. You already know, spirit means breathe. Take a breath. Breathe in. Does the air smell fresh? What do I need to do to make sure the air smells fresh so I can live? These are just, straightforward things. And maybe the answer is speaking to people of African antiquities. I like that word. But African descent, African heritage, Aboriginal people, and understand their perspective of culture and what we should be doing to commune with nature. And if that resonates all the way down to rituals and church, if it translates all the way down to how we build our families, in terms of how we create our laws, then so be it. But if it's not, then I think there's a lot of reformation that, as a people, we got to do. So I'm going to leave this conversation there. Probably have to do a part 2. There's a lot of questions, right? Research in terms of these texts. I'm not joking when it comes to the Masoretic text, the Septuagint, and all these stuff. It's open information. It's like nobody's hiding this stuff. It's just folks don't really read up, right? If the version of the Old Testament is newer than the New Testament we're reading, that's quoting from the Old Testament, then that probably erases the validity of the New Testament and the Old Testament just based on that fact alone. So we have to do some deeper research. So you don't know. It's your boy TriLLLG.
Maxwell. Let it go. You keep word for bullshit, trapping's all I know. Rolling off someone's prescription, I bet you ain't know.
GSC, baby.